For the newly indoctrinated, Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files follows the story of a professional wizard in Chicago. We started our podcast as a way to help break down the series' most important moments, characters, and lore. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure at it by your own risk. Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 6.3, The Nature of Spirit, where we are discussing the graphic novel Ghoul Goblins, issues 3 and 4. My name is Tansenn, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Hey. Harry Dresden, a Chicago private investigator and wizard, heads to a small, isolated Missouri town terrorized by Nevernever monsters. The singularly unfortunate Talbot family has suffered a curse that has decimated their numbers for generations, and only our hero can save them. That is, if he can survive hostile lawmen, the dark secrets of townsfolk, an ancient guardian spirit, and 2 deadly carnivores. Can Dresden cleanse the Talbot bloodline of its curse without a blood sacrifice of his own? Excellent. So Harry comes rushing in to find poor Talbot, blown apart by his own rifle. Mm-hmm. And poor Harry, he's like, do you have a rotary phone? He's like, I'd really love to go. Saddest shit ever. He's like, I'd really love to call you an ambulance, but you got like a cordless or a cell. It's not happening.
This is one of the funnier things that has not come up in the books.
Yeah, that's true. He's not usually scrambling around like if someone lays dying at his feet trying to find out.
You have that Morse code available, hey?
Yeah. But it's okay because Joseph's like, there's no time.
But especially because, like, you know, like in later books when he is kind of more in those situations, it's like with, like, the Carpenter family or something like that, who does have a bit of a landline. They're like, you know, we're used to, like, they're a little bit more wizard-proof, just slightly, you know?
Just enough.
Or it's like even Murphy, you know, like that. Like, she's got an office phone. She turns off her computer for him. But yeah, like, this is random guys. Like, I don't know if you'd happen to have outdated technology.
Awkward, but yeah.
Sometime around, like, the First World War.
Yeah,
it's a small town.
Right.
They're still using dial-up.
But yeah, it's just like, but yeah, he's like, one time he's like, I was wrong, but which I'm like, I guess some shit just went down, but basically you were like, I don't trust you, go away. And then you ran into your house and died.
Yeah.
So it's like
you turned your back on him and are dead.
I know. So I'm like, I guess that was enough to change your mind, but yeah, he's like, the curse, and Dresden's like, oh shit, this boy knows something.
Literally, like, I know there's like a come to Jesus moment, but like this guy seemed really quick. He's like, well, I'm dead anyways.
I know. You're my last hope.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Guess fair enough, you're only gonna live for 1 second.
I was gonna say, I'd be like, well, I guess he just got one of those faces, but by Dresden's own admission, he really, really doesn't.
Yeah. I guess things change when your guts are lying on the floor with you. Ooh.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah.
And to be fair, like, we see that the crumpled rifle, so it's like, it's clear he was face to face with a monster, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's just like,
so I guess it can't be.
You super distrust this guy?
But he doesn't seem Dresden and the Goblin in the same room at the same time.
I'm like, totally
so
though.
He ran outside and
your
then
back
came back in and went, oh no, are you okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
And
Dresden's like, I should have looked away, but we get a soul gaze.
Yeah, he sees the importance of family in the vision with Talbot, and then Talbot starts to cross over while they're gazing.
Yeah.
And that's actually a really cool moment because, essentially the soul gaze goes us through and he's like, okay, yeah, like, Talbot realized that there was some shit going on in the family history as a young boy and spent his entire childhood tracking his own family history and being like, what the fuck is happening on? And, just, you know, on the edges of the supernatural. Like, clearly, like, you know, the occult sort of belief.
Trying to draw some attention to his siblings, and they didn't understand, they didn't believe, you know. It wasn't even just like he was hoarding all this information and, oh shit, I should have done something. But it's that much more tragic because he's like, I'm trying to tell you.
Became a bit of an outcast among the siblings, too, you know, in his own, you know. For them, it kind of seemed like he did, like, the whole, like, crazy, witchy, occult And they were all
little
just
bit.
like, oh, well, lost cause, you know, and he's, like, screaming at them, like, oh, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, or else just that fatalistic, like, they just don't believe enough that anything can be done. You know, I mean, again, they might be like, yeah, shit's kind of weird, but,
which is really, like, you know, the way Harry presents regular mortals is that they'll make up any excuse for anything supernatural, right?
Yeah,
which is
rationalize.
why I would then, my argument in the last episode was that, like, why isn't anyone caring about the curse? But if we're really leaning into Harry's whole, like, oh, they'll come up with any excuse, then maybe there really isn't a pattern for them if the magic is just this strong that it works.
I was going to say, you know, how many people we met in our lives or you hear about where they're like, oh, yeah, there's a history of, like, men having heart attacks at age 30 in my family. Nobody's running around going, you know, I'm starting to think there's a bloodline curse and the men in my family are just screwed. We'd be like, dude.
The way that I thought you were going to finish that sentence is more like when you explain something to someone outside of the family, like, that's fucked up, and you're like, oh, yeah, maybe, I don't know, I just kind of always grew up that way, you know?
That too, yeah.
It's a little bit more like, you know, like, when it's so close to you and ingrained, right?
Yeah.
Even then I could kind of give them that benefit. But yes, so, as you were saying, yeah, as Harry does his soul gaze, Talbot is like, stop, go back.
Yeah.
Which is weird, like, it seems weird, like, could you be sucked into death if you're viewing someone's soul gaze when they cross over to heaven?
that.
Like, that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
That is kind of, and can
Right?
explain some of those weird, like, disappearance things or, like, whatever. But, yeah, it's a little bit hard to say for sure if it would have, or if it was simply the
just a narrative moment.
narrative moment kind of a thing where it's like, no, you need to stay, you're the only one that can. But
Help them, yeah.
that is kind
But it
of
is
that
kind of
little
cool
sort
if you're in the middle of a soul gaze with
unanswered-
someone when their soul leaves this plane.
Right? You're
Right?
connected with them at that point.
Right?
Yeah, like,
Even if
again,
you-
does it just
and-
automatically break it because now it's gone and you're still there, or...
And the interesting
would-
thing about this, too, is that we don't really get any indication that Joseph was watching Harry's soul. Or at least if he was, he wasn't.
Well, we know they have to.
Well, but the thing is that he was still like, he's like, no, Dresden, like, you gotta stay here and go back, rather than just being traumatized by whatever he saw in Dresden's, you know, past or whatever like that. Like, he was able to communicate with Harry. So again, like, that whole, like, separation of soul. Maybe he didn't witness Harry. Maybe, like, he didn't have enough to look at Harry, but Harry got to see his walking out, you know?
Maybe. I definitely
Struck me that there was a couple of pictures in those that were Harry and not, that were not specifically,
Joseph?
Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, I don't... it's a little bit hard to tell.
Like,
yeah, because he's relating it to himself of kind of being, like...
An outcast.
But, no, I think this is all Joseph.
They're all Joseph's visions, yeah.
Because if you look on the one page where, right, like, you can see Dresden picturing himself with a dark coat, and then this is, like, the short coat, like, this is... It looks kind of like Dresden, but I think this is actually Joseph, and the same here, because that's got, like, the tail. I know, it does.
See, and I thought that was
Dresden sitting alone
with his cat.
Yeah, but it's not, because that cat's got a long tail, and as we know, Mr.
Has no tail.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Stubbington.
That's totally my bad then, because I totally thought that was...
Yeah, then it's like his whole family.
They just
sort
both
of,
kind of
like,
had
looking-
sad, lonely lives.
Yeah, so Dresden's very much feeling this orphan family, this studying and looking into, like, occult supernatural that none of your friends and everybody would understand, and trying to stop something, and he lived alone with his
Powerless
cat.
Yeah.
And Dresden's like, fuck me.
So Prez comes on the scene, and they theorize that Griswold sabotaged Talbot's guns, which makes sense, because that's how Griswold seems to be working, is sort of this MO of...
Sabotage?
Yes.
I like even more how a cop shows up to a crime scene and is like, all right, Dresden, like, what happened? Like, I fully trust you 100%. Tell me what happened, right? Because even then, Murphy's his best friend. He just said it a couple of comics ago. And even Murphy shows up to a crime scene and Harry's the only one there and she's like, motherfucker, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah.
But this random guy's like, oh, Mr. Harry Dresden, I trust you inexplicably. What went wrong?
Well, he does give him shit, too. He's like, you should have called me as soon as something was off.
First sign of trouble.
Yeah.
He's still not
I know
arresting
you're the
Dresden.
expert here, but I'm a cop.
That was a touching little moment that they had, that Dresden has. He's like, somebody who used to trust me.
He's like, yeah, remind me of somebody.
Poor guy.
And then we get the wooey, wooey, wooey. He's like, fuck that. Oh, sorry. Shit, dang it.
Daggett arrives on the scene.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so Dresden tells him, or Prez tells Dresden to get out and meet him later at his house. But Dresden first takes the cat.
Yeah, let's meet up with Maddie.
Yeah, set up a meeting.
But what? Because, yeah, they already sort of established she's not the next in line. She does still have an older brother, but she's the one that's basically looking after
most open to communication.
Well, but looking after the kids and stuff now, I think, is why. Like, she's sort of stepping up as the next in charge kind of thing. So he wants to have a word with her. Then he's like, and then he takes the kitty because he's like, somebody's got to feed her.
Just so cute.
Right?
Harry taking the cat. I know. Dude.
So then the sheriff's all freaking out, like, how am I going to explain this? And he's like, I don't know, we have to let Dresden. He's like, you and your big dreams. He's like, Buck, it's not going to happen. Like, you're just some small town schmuck. And
well, it's interesting to me that the Daggett's first concern is how he's going to explain it to people, not the fact that this actually happened and that there was a third death. Not actually thinking to himself, gee, there might be something unusual going on.
Well, I think that's a little bit, because that's his whole thing, is like, how am I going to explain that, like, the third one is now died in as many days, give or take. I mean, it's been a little, right? But I think that's part of it is...
Big up-and-coming politician in town.
Not just... Well, yeah.
Who was gunning for the sheriff's job. Well, like, not gunning to take it, but was threatening it.
Threatening his job. Well, yeah, just because he thought he was useless or whatever. But, I mean, again, semi-political. He's also more of the businessman in town, because he said sort of kept the town afloat, like he's...
Well, he just doesn't...
That way, but...
The Daggett doesn't make any sense, because his first instinct is to blame Dresden for the murder. Which,
where's that fraud?
Yeah, which like, there's already been 2 other murders.
Yeah, before he even got here, right?
Yeah.
And another thing...
It's just like, there's been 3 murders, even 2 murders before he even got there. How could he be responsible for the third and all of them?
Here's why I don't think that Daggett is that great, though, because Prez describes, like, his first description we get of Daggett before we even meet him is that, like, he hasn't had to carry since, like, Reagan or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, this small town, nothing ever happens. So no offense to the sheriff, but yeah, he's not really done crime solving in, like, 40 years, you know?
Let alone...
So 3 murders in, like, 3 weeks or less, you know?
Supernatural kind of... Yeah, and exactly, right? He's definitely thinking more along regular paths of how the fuck do I explain... One gets eviscerated, one gets poisoned, one's own gun blows them up, or what, like, what the ever, you know? And I think that sort of that combination of not, like, how do I explain this, but all of a sudden just how the fuck do I tell them about this kind of, you know? Like, how do I go to them again?
Even not the town, but the Talbots themselves,
Yeah, like, and obviously, like, the mayor is going to have questions like, how did you let this happen again under your watch, and why is it, and the whole, right? I think there's a few layers to that, and he's just like, oh, fuck, no.
Maybe I should have put up a protection detail.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, Justin doesn't need to be anything but in jail, right? And he's like, ugh. So, yeah.
But even still, it is a little bit of a twat, because, like, they're still waiting to find out about what poison it was, but they were certain that poison killed the second one, right? How did the first one die?
He was, like, eviscerated.
Right. So those are clearly murders, right? Like, even the car accident could have been, like, unexplainable.
Slip and fall or something,
So, yeah, you think at that point you would put up, like, a protection detail, because, like, we don't get any information like, oh, the oldest 2 were kind of enshrined in this, like, sketchy business or something like that, or it's well known that the older 2 would, for as far as you know, like, these were all just, like, contributing members of society that didn't have secret double lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would think, like, oh, all of the Talbots are slowly dropping off or something like that, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, again, like, even if it was just, like, if it was a random stabbing of the 2 older siblings while they were in the middle of town, I could understand, like, okay, random stabbing, happened to be 2 siblings instead of, like, a random couple on a date or something like that. But the fact that it happened in 2 different locations to 2 siblings, that seems way more pattern,
I guess.
right?
And again, you would think that they probably would have looked into the family or something. And of course, given that there isn't a logical mortal means, you know, there is no drug cartel or mobster link. So, I mean, yeah, again, given this dopey little sheriff in this backwater town, he probably... Well, I don't know what else to do. There, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been a couple things like that would have been the most obvious, and not turning anything else up. He would have just been like, okay, weird. I don't know. Wouldn't necessarily have started expecting, like, the rest of the family. Like, again, I think after the third one...
Yeah, maybe the third one's finally a pattern.
Makes more of a pattern.
Which, obviously, as we see, you know, continues and happens now.
Yeah.
But even still, like, you think that there would have been, like, well, maybe the siblings are doing it to get the inheritance or something like that. Or maybe someone else in town has an issue or bone to pick or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know,
again, like,
do we know how long it has been? Like, has it been like a couple of days since the first ones, or has it been like a couple of weeks? Because for all we know, maybe maybe they did do sort of a more full investigation, but now it's been a couple of weeks and there's nothing to link anything to anything, so now they're kind of like, okay, I guess that was it. And
time-wise, I don't think that it's stated.
I don't know that they specifically address that or not, but
it ends up picking up with Dresden at a local convenience store.
Yeah, he can go to his local, like Quickie Mart to get all his magical ingredients. It's like, I needed some cat food and some other shit.
He decides that he wants to visit with a nature spirit.
So the oldest brother's named Carl.
Carl.
And Sarah died just days after him, but it doesn't say exactly how long it's been.
Between the
Between
And probably not long if that's
Yeah.
the funeral for them, because that's probably
True,
within
funerals
a week.
happen within like a week.
Usually, yeah.
Typically.
That's very
Even
true.
if
So
they had to go to like an autopsy, maybe an extra week or two
I was
on
going to
top
say
of
it
that.
might have been a little extra time.
So we're like, only 2 to 3 to max.
Yeah, it probably was within a few. And I was going to say, because, even while Daggett didn't pick up on it, Prez, obviously, I guess, was like, I mean, I guess that's part of your theory there, too. If they'd slapped, like, a protection detail on him, he might not have needed to go hunting after Dresden or not as soon, because he's like, well, we're already protected. But he's like, does nobody else notice that his family is being targeted? So, anyways, goes to his local Quickie Mart to get all his supernatural ingredients. And I do love, I mean, it makes sense in this world, but I also just love how Dresden's kind of like, you don't need to go to the magic box to, like, he's like, fucking go to 7-Eleven and buy your shit. Like, he's like, it's all about what you've been into. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I mean, again, like, he does say sometimes that expense, simply because of, like, the materials, like, yes, or gold and diamonds can have a different effect. Because they're a more pure substance or this or that or whatever. But basically, he's like, dude, it doesn't really matter what you use.
You just said, though, that, like, it kind of works in this world. And to build on that, like, a part of it is just, like, the association that a person has it with themselves, too.
Yeah.
And I fully believe that most wizards can't go to a Quickie Mart, but, like, trash that Dresden is like, my shit absolutely works at dollar store. I'm not going to Mount Everest to sap, like, a tip of the stone, because, for me, I fully believe in the gravel in my parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, I think, like, as we meet other wizards, like, we've met Anastasia for now, I feel like she's like, no, it would never work with a dollar store item. I can't do that. But Harry's like, it absolutely does, and it does for him,
Yeah, exactly.
He's got that faith there.
Totally. He's like,
that's exactly. He's like your common blue collar worker, right?
Exactly,
He's like, I don't come from like mansions and
you
shit.
can believe in that super cool occult stuff, but I know for a fact that the dollar store shit works.
Yeah.
But only for me, because I fully believe in it.
Yeah.
Other wizards are like, no, it doesn't, so it won't work for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's economical for him.
Well, one, that's just it, right? He's like, I don't have like, the love potion and stuff like that. He's like, I don't have any fucking diamonds to put in this thing. And it's like, all right, I'll throw $50. And that's like pricey. Like, that's like luxury for Dresden to like get hurt some to, right? So exactly. Yeah, no, I do. I love that element about him that, again, it'll pop up in other books and things like that, just occasionally, some of the things. And you'll see there are times where he puts a lot of time and effort and he puts money into, certain tools. Like, I don't need something from the dollar store that's going to break the first time I use it. So this, I want to be...
Yeah, certain things do require,
I want this to last and to be able to be, but exactly right for like the quick and dirty and stuff like that. He's like, all right, whatever.
Well, I mean, the man's, ideal of a great meal is Burger King and like
Coke.
Max, like the bar by his house, Like,
Max Pub and exactly.
Not to shit on Max, that's our name, but like,
but that's his fine
Burger
dining.
King or the pub,
yeah, exactly, right. So
clearly, the pub is the better one. Yes.
Warm ale is
and we've already established that Mac is a hell of a cook and a brewmaster. So I mean, it is good food he's getting there. It's not a dive, but anyways,
on.
yeah.
So Dresden finds a spot in the woods that's appropriate for the spell. He draws a circle, sets the cat in, and then gets naked.
I know. I love that modesty cat placement. Right. It just so happens that that's where,
Thanks, cat.
Thanks, cat. So we get the cat conveniently blocking Dresden's nether regions. And we realize that all his offerings are like cat friendly because he's going to plop the nature spirit. He calls it into the cat, gives it a vessel to communicate with.
Yeah, he patiently waits for it to arrive because it has to be a meeting of equals, which I liked very much.
Yeah, even though he's like cold and naked and bruised and battered. And he's like, I can't be like, hurry the fuck up.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, nice kitty. Ooh, haha, chilly out here. So we get little nice purpley speech bubbles.
Dresden questions the nature spirit, asking it for information on what is killing the innocent people, quote, innocent. The nature spirit questions innocent people as being more considered prey.
Yeah.
And it eventually offers that it knows a higher power that can help. and it agrees to appeal to the higher power.
Yeah, and he shows how nice he is because he also offers to open the milk for it because it's like you can't open the container. Yeah, so he's like, here, let me just get that for you, trying to grease the wheels a little more. I love again as it goes into, because again we've talked about in circles, like it has to have things that like represent him as well as whatever he's trying to do with it, right? So the burger, and like you can tell there's like a bottle of Coke in the circle there as well, which presumably, I mean, we know Mr. drinks Coke, but again, it's not their first go-to for all cats. You have to think that's more of like a hairy representation,
But again, this is a nature fey eating, not a cat.
Well, I suppose, but again, the other things were very, I mean, if you're in a cat body, you've got the, but anyways, I just thought, it was kind of interesting. It was like the different representations, Although, see, again now, because he has the circle and everything, but he's reaching across the circle to open it.
Maybe because he's a part of the circle.
But he's not. He's outside, right? And that's this whole thing is that, human, mortal, physical, crossing a spiritual barrier. Like, that's
But he's already called the spirit. So the spirit's there, and the spirit is willing to... And it's an equal meeting. It's not like Chauncey, where Chauncey is
brought by... Well, I get that he's not trying to entrap the spirit. But, again, it was just sort of a little bit of... Are we playing within the rules, or did we sort of forget something here? Or
artist does his own shit.
Should the artist just not have drawn it like looking like an active circle anymore? I don't know, whatever. But not critical, but it was just one of those things where I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Hey, you broke the rule.
Here's one of the things that bothers me about this moment, and that's because I'm a cat lover. Dresden leaves the cat in the woods after the fact, and that really bothers me. This is a house cat.
Okay, cat, you're up to the nature fey now. Bye.
I mean, I suppose it has to appeal to a higher power, but really, like, that cat, it gets left in a desolate place in the woods.
Okay, first of all, cat. That thing's probably happy as shit right now.
Yeah, but they're also, not all cats have that instinct, especially when they've been house cats. Right?
Cat could be a Rory.
And she's got no instincts whatsoever.
I say our cat Ty, she'll kill anything. We could like literally leave her out in the middle of
See, it's in Storm. Storm's
Canada,
the same way.
And she'll do whatever the fuck she wants, right? But yeah, your cat Rory die from a mouse.
Yeah, she would just be like, I don't know what you are.
She'll see a beetle and keel over.
I don't know. That's true. I was like, it's very rare, though. I think she's definitely
the majority of cats.
Small percentage of most of them are all.
And to be fair, this is Talbot. This is like country cat too.
This is not Talbot's country cat. Like, I don't think this is really like a pampered apartment cat either.
This cat is probably used to mice in the house.
And besides, if he legitimately did in the nature spirit, I'm sure the nature spirit was like, yo, cat, you could. This is what, like, if he, if he popped into a Roy and was like, oh, dude, babe, okay, let me tell you.
It's a nature cat.
Schooled him real quick and been like,
it's a nature cat, not a fire demon.
Exactly, but we also don't have concrete. I mean, that's the impression. But for all we know, Dresden did bring the cat back. And
the same way you assume he went to the bathroom, you assume he took the cat to the shelter. It's fine.
Okay.
So
he dropped it off with Maddie during his meeting.
I hope
He's
so,
like, this is your brother's cat.
Well, he hasn't the cat lover in me is like, oh, that poor cat. It's just like in the middle of the woods now.
No, because like the goblin and the ghoul ate it, like as soon as Dresden walked away.
I was like, I love how this is like our human, right? We're like, Talbot, dumbass, got himself. We're like, oh, you left the cat in the woods? Or this is like, I was watching, what was it?
The cat didn't do anything. The humans are dumb.
An episode of Mom with Allison Janney and Dana Paris or whatever.
Continue.
Anyways.
Actors people have never heard of. Continue.
It's okay, audience. I think you're smarter than that. Anyways, point being is in this episode, they were like house hunting and they find like this super awesome place for like cheap, like within their budget. But they find out there was like a family that was killed there and that's why. So they're just trying to unload it really quick. And they're like, oh, a family was killed. And they're like, yeah, and their dog. And then they're like, oh. And then literally like it comes up a couple more times in the episode, right? Where other people are like, wait, how did you get this place? And they're like, it was a family. But they're like, oh, really? You don't mind? They're like, yeah, them and their dog. And they're like, oh, the dog. I'm like, it's so sad but so true. We're like, okay, yeah, it sucks that the family got me, but oh my god, they killed the dog.
Well, you know, there isn't a website that's called Does the Humans Die, but there is one called Does the Dog Die?
Yeah, I know, right?
People gotta know when they watch a movie, does the dog die or not?
Does the dog die? I know. It's like we're all like, oh, whatever. It's all, blood, guts, and gore. But
humans are gonna die, but animals.
But not the puppy. Didn't do anything.
I have a problem with with horror movies when they like kill cats and dogs like that.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Drives me nuts.
Everybody,
I'm like,
yeah,
oh.
I know. It's always.
Damn it, Jigsaw! What did that cat do to you?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be even funnier though if Jigsaw literally just had like 45 dogs. He just keeps adopting everybody. It always flashes back to him in his room. And he's got like birds and hamsters and cats in the background. He's like, "Let's play a game."
So this birthday dinner we were at yesterday, there was probably, I'm not sure, we're gonna say like 5 and 8-year-old there or whatever, and they were talking about what they were gonna do for Halloween or whatever, and their mom was like, "Oh, Jackson, I think it was," she's like, initially he wanted to do like a scary clown or whatever, he wanted to do like Pennywise, so she's like, we looked up some pictures, and then he was like, "Oh no, I don't want to do Pennywise." Like, and my boyfriend was joking, and he was like, he's like, I want to go around, he's like, I want to go around and like tie like a bunch of red balloons to like grates and things like that. And I was like, oh dude, literally, so today is Halloween, this is the 31st that we're recording this, and
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Harry. And as I left this morning when I was just leaving town, there was like a little culvert with a red balloon tied to it. So I should post that. I should send it.
Somebody did that over here too.
So I took a picture and I said, I was like, someone beat you to it or whatever. So yeah, I should throw that up.
Last week I came home from work and I like looked over and somebody had tied a floating red balloon to
Yeah. This one is like a helium balloon. It's just sitting up in the middle of this little culvert right at the edge of
If you live in America or Canada, this might have happened over in Europe as well, but I know it was especially prevalent in North America. But like 2016, there was like that
the whole
crazy clown thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not a fan.
A lot of people were not.
No.
Which I guess is kind of the point.
If you were one of those people, fuck you.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. There's actually... Yeah. But yeah, I don't normally do a lot of like the horror slash, but yeah. Leave the pets alone. So he goes in and he's talking to him, and this was something else I noted, not relevant to the plot, but like little bits of like words missing from, right? It's like damned if was gonna. Like, I'm assuming that's probably was supposed to be damned if I was gonna, but I noticed that came up a few times in here, just every once in a while, like a small word or something would be missing somewhere where it like got forgotten. Like, I think my
brain probably just filled it in when I was reading it. I didn't notice anything.
You mostly do, right? But I was like, I know like when I'm writing myself, I do that a lot. Like, my writing is a lot of squiggles because I don't have the time and patience. I don't write as fast as I think a lot of the time, so I don't have time to properly, neatly form all the words. I just...
skip some letters and go.
Yeah, totally. I just get enough that I can recognize what the word, that it'll remind me what I was trying to say, whatever, and then I'll have to, like, type it up nice or write it out or something like that. But I was like, it's kind of like that. It's like they're going through and they're just like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, you actually forgot to throw in
there's supposed to be editors for this.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like in books and there's, like, typos and missing words. Like, did somebody not, like, prove this? Rachel, Paula, I'm sorry, what? But anyways.
Yeah.
And man, Dresden looks really haggard in this first bit when he's sitting down with
Preston
too.
Yeah, like, I guess he's gotten even more sick since being naked in the woods.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. And then we get Amber.
And we find out that Maddie did agree to meet with Dresden, which is good.
Also, I want to throw out, that was Harry's first soul gaze with, like, a who cares person. Because up till now, it's been, like, Susan, Marcone, assumably, like,
Parker,
Elaine, and or
Justin.
Dumore, potentially people like that, right? But, like, yeah, all of his soul gazes so far have been, like, important people. This is the first time that he's had one with, like, a red shirt.
Yeah, kind of deal. You're right.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
Just throwing it out there. We're only on...
Yet.
What is this? This is 6?
Yeah.
This is our 6th piece of content? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Still pretty early on.
Out
of like 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Out of our episodes?
No. Like graphic novel. This is the 6th thing.
Yeah. The third.
6.3 that we're doing right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our 37th episode.
Damn. I was about to ask. I was like, how much will we hit it a year? But probably 52.
There's a reason.
Probably a good guess.
If we don't skip any take time off over Christmas or anything. See how much we can get done before then, folks. And remember, if you like it and want us to keep going and not take any hiatuses, please feel free to support us on Patreon.
I was going to say Amber joins Prez in Dresden. She makes him tea while Prez hides the blue beetle. Amber brings the tea in a first aid kit and begins to mend Dresden. And apparently she likes her tea extra hot.
Yes.
She's so nice.
That was her mom's way. It'll burn. The hotter the better. That's what my mom always said. It'll burn the nasty bug right out of you.
Yeah, she's very, very supportive of getting the perp who killed Talbot. Imagine that.
Yeah, right.
And they let Harry nap on their couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, let him
they're a nice
crash
couple.
there for a bit. He's like, woke you up kind of in the middle of the night or the wee hours of the morning or whichever way that worked. And yeah, instead of freaking out, they like take him in, fix him up, ditch his car, let him crash.
Yeah.
Prez is good people.
And I do love that
Prez and Amber.
Prez is good people.
That Dresden, while he's drifting off to the thoughts of why he was put on this earth, is to save the innocents.
So he actually gets a good nap here. 14 hours. Well, I mean, maybe he wasn't sleeping that entire time, but presumably since this isn't happening until 14
Lord knows
hours.
that he would need it for how much damage has been done.
I know,
to
but
him.
he never gets it. He always needs 14 hours of sleep. He usually barely gets like 2. So that's what I mean. I was like, for once, he actually had a chance to fucking like crash.
Especially because, like, at least we knew in Stormfront, like, he had a lot of work to do in the middle of things, but at least he could have been like, oh, like, until it's nighttime or until it's raining.
Yeah.
I can take a break, you know? And obviously that wasn't true. He had a bunch of other shit going on as well.
Yeah.
But conceivably speaking, in this, it's like, for all you know, like, the murders can happen at any time of day, right? You're not waiting for nightfall.
Yeah, you're not waiting on a storm. You're not waiting on a full moon. Yeah.
And he's like, whatever, I'm gonna take a nap right now. Like, at least, you know, even the full moon was like, if, like, obviously the entire book of full moon happened during the full moon, but, like, if it wasn't a full moon, he could have been like, okay, I've got, like, a minute, you know?
It's like, really, Murph, you couldn't have called me on the last day so I could, like,
Yeah, right?
you know,
Give me a month to do this.
I know. Man, can you imagine what the outcome would have been if he'd found out the last and had, like, a whole month to prepare, like, gadgets and circles.
And here's the other thing, real quick, we'll jump into full moon about this for a second, because I really think there wouldn't have been as many murders. I mean, yeah, they were kind of killing a lot of random people or whatever like that, right, admittedly.
Test things out a little bit.
But their whole point was to get Marcone. Well, okay, never mind. I'll take it back, because the FBI ended up only throwing into the Luke Garou thing when they started to mess up in the first place. I'm like, oh, we need a fall guy. If they'd been doing their part correctly from the beginning, they wouldn't have needed a fall guy. It would have been done, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I have issues of full moon. That's in the episode. But, okay, yes. If Murphy, again, as we've said, had just taken a minute to think and not jumped the gun,
Yeah, right.
there could have been slightly less important people deaths. I guess all the randoms would have still died.
Yeah.
Potentially more randoms, but
still.
I bet you Carmichael would still be alive. If
Right.
Harry had had a month.
And Harry could have been just, not.
And you could have had an entire month
Could
to
have
be like,
started
don't
in front
arrest
of
the
the
werewolf and bring him to your jail cell.
Right? You could have fixed the fucking circle
Could have had a month to
beforehand.
fix the fucking, Kim Delaney might still be alive.
I was gonna say I still have issues with that, Kim. That was just beyond that falls in the like the too stupid to live category, and I'm sorry.
Kim had to die.
Unfortunately.
She was named after Butcher's
Fodder.
ex-girlfriend, too,
Well,
right?
yes,
She had
that's
to die.
true. I feel slightly less bad about her now. It's like, oh, I get why she was set up and why she died now.
Butcher had a bone to pick.
Butcher, yeah. It wasn't just like, oh, Harry's friend. It was like, oh,
We're not looking for a reason to kill you that makes sense with the narrative. We're just looking for a reason to kill you.
It's like when you're picking names for your kids and your partner's like, oh, how about like Mark? And you're like, no.
That's my mortal enemy.
I went to school with a Mark. No,
Yeah.
we're not. I'm sure it's a lovely name and there's a lot of nice people, but it's like, I knew one once. Nope.
Yeah. So point is, I think 14 hours is a little bit
Excessive. Nice.
irresponsible.
Irresponsible.
Overindulgence.
Overindulgent.
You just can't win. It's like you don't get enough sleep. We're like, Harry, what the fuck? Get some sleep. Harry takes his sleep. We're like, Harry, what the fuck? Get out there.
Yeah.
Like, what are you, Butcher? So anyways, yeah. Well, maybe he's figuring they've got a day. I'm like, well, they just knocked one off last night. It's like every couple of days, right? Because it was
But
like
the thing is that he
Carl,
doesn't
then it was a
know
couple
that.
days later, it was Sarah. And now
If
a
it
few
was
days later,
literally
it's,
like every 3 days, then maybe.
Maybe.
But you don't know that.
Anyways. So yeah, tracks down Maddie, so they go whisper around the library. And she's like, just because you're a wizard doesn't mean you can protect. He's like,
He's quite
wait,
shocked
you
about
believe?
that. Yeah.
She's like, I followed Joseph around like a puppy. He was my big brother. We did everything. I know. She's like, you want to lock us all up in that house. Be safe.
Yeah, she didn't think that it was very appropriate for all of them to live up a boarded life.
Yeah, and apparently that was kind of where all of them were coming from, why everyone kind of refuted to... Yeah. She's like, yeah.
Well, her opinion was that everyone is going to die eventually, so why waste life?
Yeah. And again, seems to be, because obviously Sarah and Carl didn't convince anybody, so either they had no desire to from the get-go or weren't successful, so it was like, yeah, obviously there wasn't really anything.
And hence my Talbot grievances come back full force. I mean, I'm all for them, like, clicking off a bucket list of, like, skydiving and, like, traveling and things like that. But this whole, like, gotta start a family right now, don't have any other time. No.
Well, she didn't specifically
say that, but
yeah,
she's like,
exactly.
why waste time?
They didn't want to cloister themselves away and be segregated and just hide in a hole.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been any life to just hide all the whole time. Right. So they set up another meet. She's like, how's it going to help? What can we do? And obviously Dresden has some kind of plan that is not imparted to us immediately.
Well, he just says that so he may have found somebody who has the answers to stopping the creatures.
Yeah. So he goes back out to meet his...
nature spirit.
Nature spirit again, who agreed to find some information. And so he shows up for the meet after feeding the nice kitty cat and opening its milk. And this thing's like, whap, whap, like just bitch slaps him a couple of times.
It turns out to be
it's a giant snake from Buffy.
A Naga. A guardian serpent. I did a little bit of research on Naga, and it's according to the
Naganality.
According to Encyclopedia Britannica, Naga in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, as a member of a class of mythical semi-divine beings that are half human and half cobra, specifically. They're a handsome species who can that are either wholly human or wholly serpentine form, and are potentially dangerous and often beneficial to humans.
There you go.
That's where Voldemort named his snake Nagini from.
There you go. Yeah.
Beneficial to Voldemort.
Always comes back to Harry Potter. And Buffy.
And Buffy, yes.
Which would bring us
to... two major fandoms. Yeah, that's the end of 3.
Issue 4. Yeah.
Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us keep doing what we're doing. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
The Dresden is confronted by the huge Naga in snake form. He opts to drop his weapons, and which instantly disarms the Naga.
Good call.
Yeah.
So he says that they're sworn to neutrality, so humans are on the same level as like squirrels and beetles and things. And he's like, rather than challenge this thing, rather than, he's like, I will show deference. I will be like, you're far superior to I am.
Not only does he drop his weapons, but he drops Harry Dresden personality 101.
Yeah, no snark, no banter, no wisecracking. Yeah. So he's like, I could fight or flight, and he's like, but if I wanted to live, nothing. He's just like...
Drops his weapons and drops to one knee.
Yeah. He is reverent.
Yeah. He's like, my name is Harry Dresden, Great One. I'm a wizard, and I seek an audience with you. So,
and then, ooh la la, shimmering magic, da-da-da. And she's a beautiful lady.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful indeed.
Pick her. Ervada. I don't know.
She tells him that she has no need for worshippers, and that her name is Aryavata, and grants him his audience.
Yeah. So
we get a little bit of talk about the Unseelie Accords.
Yeah.
Which for us, this is kind of the first time chronologically this is brought up. Which is essentially, very briefly here, because essentially they assume that you've been reading the books up to a ghost story and are aware of them. But essentially, there's mystical, magical fairy rules that exist out in the world that she is beholden to.
Yeah.
He is also beholden to, unless he wants to. If he breaks them, then she gets to break them.
Yeah, basically. It's
she's kind
Geneva
of,
convention of the supernatural world is how it's described. Yeah.
But with the way that, like, the Fae are, is that they literally cannot break them at all until somebody else does, whereas mortals get to act within mortal means, which is like we do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, you can do like a self-defense sort of thing, like he threw the first punch, so now all bets are off.
And now all bets are off, but Fae are not able to break it first.
Especially since I think they make a comment, is it Mab even specifically or something at one point, she's like, they're my rules, I can't fucking break them, like, dumb.
Interesting part of her. And there's another point too, I'm not sure if he doesn't go into it here.
No.
But essentially it is just like, tied to your own magic. If you agree to the rules and you break them, then you're breaking your own.
Yeah, and he's like
magic,
promises
right?
and things to wizard are tied innately to their magic.
But even to the Fae too, like
there's
you know, essentially all supernatural beings have to follow the Unseelie Accords because
if they're signatories.
If they're signatories.
Yeah, if you agree to follow them, you've agreed to follow them.
But what I mean is that as we get into this and we see, like, even, like, you know, the bad guys, like the vampires or whatever else we meet, you know, everything that is on this list, it comes at a cost of their own power if they break it, you know?
Yeah,
it's not
very
just
much.
honor,
Again, like our Geneva Convention and rules of war and things like that, you know? It's like you don't get, they're like, sure, you guys are having a war, you're going to blow each other up, but you don't get to do insanely despicable, horrible, torturous things to eat. You know, like you can kill each other, but you can't torture each other. There's rules. And yes, if you break that rule, then fine, you forfeited, you know, fair treatment of yourself or whatever. But essentially, they're trying to keep to a certain. Anyways, so they're all.
Point is that they've got, you know, it's not just like agreed neutrality, but kind of forced neutrality as well between the two of them.
Yeah, because you're definitely, somebody will find you and make you pay for.
They're both beholden to keep the peace right now.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. So,
Aryavata is confused why he cares about the shortening of lives that are going to perish anyway, and Harry tells her the life can't be measured by its brevity. The one thing that Aryavata does do is give him the order of the deaths.
Yes, tells him who's next. And the kids jump. They all go in order until Ella dies before TJ. And that's the only, other than that, they're all oldest to youngest. It's kind of...
Just the children who skip. Unless it's some weird thing, like the brother's just so much taller than his
But I think, because I'm pretty sure when he named them in the cemetery, he was, like, going down, right? He's the oldest, and that's the next, and now Maddie. So I'm pretty sure that is. I mean, it could be, but... It's just one of those things where girls are so kick-ass, Ella's gonna, like, throw herself in front of the demon to, like, save TJ or something like that, you know? And be like, no!
No, my brother.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we get, like, an overhead side shot of this Talbot mansion. And did anybody else...
See that it's in a pentacle?
Right?
Yeah. The star shape, it's very neat.
I was like, okay, so he was really going. So not only like the fence and all the symbols, but even like the damn creation of that house had
a
specific structure and like a circular pad around it or whatever.
I was just thinking that the contracts and the permits must have been a nightmare to actually get that done, let alone the fence
itself.
It's a small
town, though.
Well, small,
to contract that fence out too. Oh my god!
Yeah, well,
the
definitely
fence
would have
itself
been
would have been
pricey
insane
to get that.
But I imagine getting contracts out in the middle of like, you know, small towns like this is not.
Right.
I mean, he's obviously got acres of land, so it's not like he had to worry about butting up on anybody else's property or being like an eyesore in the neighborhood.
He's clearly got lots of money.
I imagine some of the architectural may have, although it looks kind of one level too, so I'm like it might not have been. But I know I would see more, maybe potentially a lot of head scratching about, you know, not necessarily that it was difficult to get.
Weirdo.
But I can do it, but why would you want to? So he gets it, and he's sitting there as he does. Whether he's like checking out Monica's kitchen or curling up in the space where Linda Randall's dead body was just removed from, or sitting on the porch where Talbot just, you know, Harry goes for his retrospection in the...
Harry's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Literally, like, if a mouse dies in my house, like, I avoid that part of my house for a couple of weeks. Because I'm like, oh, there's death over there. And Harry's like, oh, man, they haven't even gotten the blood out of this yet. I'm just going to sit here.
Sit here and wallow and take it in because it's all my fault and this is how my process works.
I really do love Dresden, but doing this episode by episode,
he's like
a sad guy.
Right?
Like, just, dude, get over yourself. You're so pathetic
and that's,
all the time.
Again, that's what you get more out of these, right? Again, like, written. Harry has his moments where he does get, like, dark and introspective. But like I say, novel Harry is so much more wisecracky and... Like, there are moments even there where he has to be like, oh, I really want to make a comment, but now is not the time, occasionally, right? But here, like, he's really not, right? These are so much more the somber, intense, doom and gloom, you know?
A lot of dead air in the comics.
yeah, exactly, right? But yes, he does notice a spot of blood, and it makes him think about this bloodline curse and stuff. So yeah, so Maddie and the kids show up, and the other.
Can you meet me at the place where your brother was murdered?
Brutally
like 14 hours ago.
and
Like,
Not even cleaned up properly.
Like, the
gross.
cops aren't allowed to do that. Like, that's, like, a moral and ethical thing. Like, they're not allowed to, like... You know, you might be able to get, like, one of the, like... overage people to have to come down to the crime scene to like verify some questions, but you're not.
That's usually like at the morgue or something,
you know. But like, yeah, you don't bring the children to a murder.
I was gonna say,
site.
unless you like think they're the ones that did it, and you're trying to like shock them into, you know.
Right?
Normally they're not like, here, grieving family, please come and look at this traumatic scene.
Meet me at your brother's house where he died.
Well, and the children are pretty dumbstruck, like with the horror of it all, until they see all the youngest sees all the photographs of the family. And then it brings it back to...
He's doing it for us.
Yeah. Look at... That's us. And it brings it back to family instead of the death.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, nice for you, I guess, but... I don't know, like, again, like, Joseph got a bit of a redemption there in the end. But, like, dude is still just a weirdo.
Yeah, he is.
Like, again, like, they show those walls, and it's like, you've got, like, your, like, okay, fine, you've got, like, a bunch of animal heads mounted, that's pretty country life, you know, like, fine.
Yeah, it's like your hunting trophies alongside your,
every
like,
family
crazy
photo that's ever
mystic.
existed, and then all of your, like, you know, like, weird occult symbols as well.
And
it's like...
presumably books, because he's got a huge library and stuff,
like,
too. Yeah, I know, and it's, I mean, I guess I kind of get, like, the whole, right, like, you don't really know what's real and what's not and what works, so he just goes whole hog and just gets, like, everything,
right.
But, again, you've got to wonder sometimes, I'm like, what's that whole thing about, like, canceling out, you know, like, if you cross your fingers when you cross your heart, it doesn't really, I'm like, how do you know you didn't just fuck everything by bringing in, like, 17 billion
like,
different...
so many diseases, they start canceling each other out with the symptoms, you know?
Yeah, just making it worse, it's like, well...
And as we know from Harry, part of it is just what you believe in, right? Like, it only has to be one, but you have to believe in it, you know?
Yeah,
or it can be all, like,
conversely,
500,
if you
but
believe
you have
in
to
all
believe in all
500,
500,
then
you
they'll
know?
all work, but yeah.
But yeah, no, dude, I mean, we can see by the outside of his house, exterior design and interior design are not where this guy's passions lay.
Well, he was passionate, he just wasn't talented.
Still, I feel like if you just walk into someone's house like this, like, it's just like...
Yeah, just a complete and total hodgepodge.
Weirdest, yeah, like, you're like, yeah, this
crazy,
absolutely is where I imagine a man was murdered. Like,
yeah.
The second this guy built this house, he was meant to die.
I was gonna say, this is meant to be, like, the most haunted house ever.
Yeah.
From, like, all the weird...
Well, I've been in small towns with abandoned buildings, and I've broken into such buildings and gone through people's shit.
What?
And, like, this is absolutely one of those places, just like, you know, small town, you know, you just, yeah, break and enter into random properties like this.
Apparently.
Oh.
Check out Caroline, okay? They got lots of abandoned houses. You can just walk right in.
There you go.
Point is that, like, this, I can absolutely imagine, like, the kids in this town are gonna be walking in here and being like, ooh.
Yeah.
Look at all the bullshit in here.
Yeah, you know, it's going to go like a generation or two or something.
Well, no one's going to buy that house, first of all.
Well, no, that's what I mean. It's going to go like a generation
or
or two until like somebody from like outside and doesn't know the history and the story just shows up. It's like Skinwalker Ranch or something. They're like, oh,
someone will buy it to open like an occult museum. Or it'll sit there until then. Like,
or open it up as the next site of Supernatural. But anyways, this again, girl gets... So they
you know what, actually? With Joseph dead, they need a new economy. So if they want to start ghost tours, his house is the perfect place.
There you go. They can totally profit off this tragedy and just breathe a sigh of
every other
the house
does.
of the crazy cursed Talbots and... but yeah, so anyway, so they're going through here and the kids are all like, oh no, and you see them cleaning off Maddie, and then Ella sees like the pictures and just suddenly goes like creepy child doll.
I know, she looks like
illustration.
Annabeth is gonna kill them all.
I know, it's just like, that is inappropriate to the scene and the mood. Like, I get that it's supposed to be like, oh hey, look, but yeah. I was
but
like,
Daddy, I love him.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, weird, that I don't, overemphasis, I don't know, that just went, but yeah, so they're going through, and parents and siblings, and yada yada, and Harry's like, no, I'm an orphan too, and as a matter of fact, if we make it through this, I'll tell you all about them. So right there,
I'll
you
adopt
know,
you. Like,
somebody from here is not making it out of this, because anytime you're like, I'll tell you once we all survive, dude, somebody's not surviving. But yeah, gives her his amulet and everything to protect her, which is the one thing he has from his family. And then they stop by City Hall, and like Mrs. Poole answering the phone. We all know, Mrs. Poole, I think, was specifically from Hogan's Heroes, but it's the same actress that Ferris Bueller and the school secretary. Like, this is her, down to the hair and the whole...
Oh.
Like, you can...
I missed that.
You haven't watched Ferris Bueller recently enough, then.
No, I haven't.
Go watch Ferris Bueller. But anyways, a very stereotypical kind of depiction, I think. Which is not necessarily unjust. I mean, there's reasons. But yeah. Walks in, wants to talk to the mayor. She's like, oh, see if you have. Immediately blows out her computer. And he's like, yeah, I think she'll just go right in now.
She barged into my motel room. I'm gonna barge into
into
her
her
office.
office. Yeah. Little
To be fair,
power balance
not
there.
that Harry lives here, but to be fair, the mayor did not pay Harry's rooms. The citizen did pay for the mayor's office.
There you go.
Right.
This is true. So again, we see like kind
So
of...
Dresden questions Cedar's motives for calling Joseph dangerous. He tells the mayor that he will find out the monster hiding in plain sight and end the carnage.
Yeah, he's like, Joseph wasn't doing shit. He was just trying to protect his family. Y'all made it sound like there was, right? So what's the bug up your ass, right? And again, we see, you know, the
Egyptian paraphernalia.
We see the Egyptian paraphernalia, remind us of that she's been there, and so we don't forget that link, and the whole where, again, she's drawn very, like, somber and angry and mysterious, and are you
Dare I
trying to
say
imply
evil?
something? And then
I love this close-up of Harry's ear. He should get an ear piercing.
Yeah, or when he's, like, looking at her.
Look at that nice bare left ear, Harry.
Right? Should think about that.
I should think about that. Think about getting an earring sometime.
Yeah, I think you can pull it off.
Some point.
Yeah. So, so he's like, whatever, I want you to help protect them or look after them or whatever. He's like, there's things prowling around, and he's like, if I can find the other one hiding in plain sight, I can put an end. So, yeah, we're still not really sure, I guess, where he's going with that, but he's calling her out one way or the other. Like, either I'm going to find out it's you and stop you, or you're going to help me figure this out because it's your frickin' town, stupid mayor lady. So yeah, so now he goes checking out Griswold's place. And
I just want to quickly throw in.
Grade division.
I know we've already insulted the art a little bit, but like every now and again, like I meant to say this earlier and forgot, but like sometimes like I just feel like I'm looking at Moose from the Archie comics, like his jaw just never ends. Like,
Oh, right. I could see that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I get that with Press sometimes too, being like the blonde and the heavier
Yeah,
set too.
him
And
too,
like
yeah.
he's a few times reminded me of
Moose,
again this Archie comic-esque style.
Oh, I see where you guys are coming from with that one now. Okay.
Yeah. Same thing like when Amber's helping patch up his hand in the one picture and she's got the little like snub. Now how they always draw like Betty and Veronica.
I find that with all the women that this guy draws, with the exception of the mayor, who draws a lot harsh, but like Maddie and Ella and Amber, like he's
They all
doing
look
their
very
noses are
similar.
all yeah, like it's like the exact same copy and paste sort of thing, but he's changing the hair color.
Right.
Like women have window. This
The
is
inking
if you're a
just a little
cute
bit
dainty
different.
woman,
That's
you
the
have
only
a
thing that makes
cute
it
little
different.
button nose. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, not a lot of variety between the women.
Yeah. So he goes off to investigate the creepy gravedigger shack because no cemetery is complete without. If you're gonna have a creepy gravedigger, you have to have a creepy gravedigger shack.
Right. Well, we
Because
find out that
small
goblin.
towns,
None
they're all
of them
falling
like
apart.
luxury, or it's like if you work at the cemetery, it's like all you want is a dark, dank.
You have a
crappy-
role to play.
you
Okay?
you fulfill the stereotype.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But that's not the case in this guy's house here. We find out that the goblin is quite well read.
Well, yeah, but it's still a dark,
The outside of it
bare
is
little.
just
He's got
falling
like a
apart.
fucking milk crate and a fucking giant bobbin for a table. Like, I don't know if it's still called a bobbin when they're like 5 feet across and made for like giant cables, but the spool thingy for. But yeah, basically it's a milk crate and a spool bobbin, whatever the fuck that thing is called.
Okay.
But a lot of books.
So Dresden finds a photograph of Amber, which he assumes is a warning to Prez in Dresden.
Yeah, and immediately I was like, dude.
And
I picked her out like 2 chapters ago. Come on.
Right. And Dresden, of course, does not share this information, and he has a moment of Murphy-induced guilt, which he should.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
He really should. Yep, doing it again, hiding evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he thought if that was... Well, I guess maybe just to not, like you said, it was supposed to be a warning or something that he didn't want to get Prez all riled up to do something stupid or whatever, but I don't know.
Exactly. That's a whole Murphy thing, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to scare Murphy off the bat, and then she just makes her own decisions and everyone dies.
Yeah,
Like a
exactly. But he's like, yeah, I'm already kind of scared. And he's like, then you're ready. Exactly. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyways.
So the two go off to find Alex Talbot, which Prez describes him as a bit of a jackass and doesn't help with his siblings at all.
Yeah.
Yes, the fourth son. Fourth child, too.
Yeah. And while going to find him at the bowling alley, Prez discovers that Amber is flirting with Alex, and Prez is quite furious.
It's so sad.
Poor
Prez. Really, again, don't get Amber's MO at all. Like, what the fuck? You've been with Prez the whole... I'm like, I get Prez. It's a little bit on the inside. The local cop. You can know what's going on. Maybe get some inside information. But, like, randomly all of a sudden, now you're just going to go in the open and, like, try and... Like... Well, you didn't need to get close to any of the other ones. You just, like, eviscerated everybody. I'm like, this guy's kind of like a loser loner anyways.
We know that the ghoul and the goblin are fighting for territory, right?
Yeah.
They're both trying to kill as many Talbots as they can right now to get him out of the way. So we don't know which one that she killed first. Maybe this is the first boy that she's killed. Maybe she got Sarah, and he got the other two. Oh, no.
I don't know.
We know for a fact that he at least got Joseph.
Yeah.
So maybe he got Carl and she got Sarah, so now her MO for the first time killing a guy is like, I'll just flirt with him to get him alone, you know?
Maybe.
I would do that to get a guy alone. Yeah, you just go like, hey, like, let's take a moment off to the side.
You don't need to. You get proposed to every 5 minutes, whether you
so
want to
Amber,
or not.
Why wouldn't she do it
I know,
too?
but I just don't think that given the circumstances, like, again, it's a small town, she doesn't need to, like, given who Alex is, like, Joseph I could see. Joseph is, like, a sort of upstanding member of the community. He's sort of businesslike.
Yeah, I don't understand what your point is. She wants to get him alone.
That the loser loner guy is already alone. She doesn't need to go flirt with him in the middle of the bowling alley. He's gonna wander off by himself to do some weird, creepy thing
that
anyway.
Just means that's a really easy way for her to do it.
I just think it's unnecessary. I
just wanted to wait for him to be walking home in the middle of the night, and then the goblin gets him instead.
I guess, but I mean, it's just, again, to be, like, all into Prez. I mean, obviously that's, like, I don't think she's actually in love with Prez.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's a cover, so then why go through that if you're gonna go and openly flirt with this guy in the middle of the town and then be like, oh yeah, you suck, haha, to Prez when he shows, like, it seems, I don't know, it just doesn't seem well played out.
The both of them have already determined, like, at the end, like, later on, they call her the less intelligent one. Like
again, I guess maybe. And
she doesn't have that much of a thought process going on for all of this stuff.
Maybe that's fair. She's more instinct and guts than she is clever. But I mean, like, again, given what we know about ghouls from later books, I'm putting the evisceration and stuff up to her as well. Like, it just doesn't seem that she would be subtle poison.
Maybe she flirted with him too to get him alone.
Maybe she did, but apparently it was a lot more subtle because no one... I mean, like, again, fine, if they were in the middle of New York or Chicago, you could be like, oh, I didn't think you'd randomly run into us at this 1 in a million cafe in the middle of a city populated by 1 million people. In Hicksville, Boone Mills, where the only place to go is the bowling alley and the Silver Bullet Diner, I think somebody's going to spot you and be like, hey, how come the deputy's girlfriend is hanging out with the Talbot guy?
Because she's a slut.
Yeah, right?
I don't think she cares about her
She's
her
closing
reputation
in on
at
the
this
end.
point.
But anyways, it's just she seems to have come across as more clever and more competent up until now, and it just seems very sloppy and, again, unnecessary to me. Like you can't handle the FBI doing their sloppy. I'm like, again, this just seems like a fucked up way to something. I think I would have preferred to just come across them in the woods or have her, like, turn on Preston or something to try and get him out of the way and discover it that way than just all of a sudden, like, hey, why is my girlfriend? I thought we really had something. But anyways, it doesn't happen like that. And she gets outside the diner, still apparently in the open, and just, like, in the parking lot, and immediately just decides to go full on.
Because they call on her. They call her out. That's why. She's like, oh... Because he's all like, Amber, what are you doing here? And then she's like, oh shit, guess I gotta get on with this murder right now.
Yeah, but they've given no, like, again, thought process. Harry says, oh, all of a sudden it clicked why the photo was there. But that's not outside or anything like that. It's literally, she walks out in human form and he's like, Amber, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh no, I'm discovered.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's like, that was all internal. Like, in Dresden's head it suddenly clicked, but she doesn't know he was just at the grave diggers and found the picture of her and whatever.
Well,
so as far as she knows, it was just...
she doesn't have a lot of... This is all evidence of just how
much of a dumbass she is. Yeah, no, I know.
She doesn't have the smarts. Like, it's comparison to Griswold, who is very well-spoken and does more planning and is well-read, whereas she's just like, I'm going to eat you.
I guess, but it's just...
I'm almost done this, and I got caught fuck this, I'm going to eat all of you.
Yeah, and that is, that has a certain...
And that falls more into the ghoul line of thinking.
Absolutely it does. I'm just saying, previous to this, she's been shown as being a little bit more, right? Like, oh, here, let me bandage you. Oh, here, this is...
You know how a bad breakup makes you sometimes?
I guess.
Anyways, Harry does more magic, which is fun.
Yes.
Yeah, he does his Fazari a couple of times, and unfortunately, in the meantime, Alex is hit by a semi-truck.
Darn.
I know!
Hates when that happens.
So again, right, comes down to that whole, the means of carrying it out
Freak accident.
Yeah, like how and why the ghoul and goblin, like you say, it's all about territory, not about the Talbots necessarily as such, because apparently they don't need them to take it out.
He still dies, but not necessarily by her hand, like, but
that's what I mean,
kind of by her influence. Like, I would think that she would have won that round instead of getting pissed off about it. Because she does. She gets pissed off that he gets in the way of the game again.
She could swing it that she pushed him in front of a semi.
Right? Like, that's what I would think.
Well,
I think she won the round, to be honest.
I don't think she's pissed that that's how it goes down, because the sirens and stuff are coming first before... Right? Because they're already having their throwdown with her, and she's like, the police siren, it's time for me to leave. And Prez is like, Harry, and they're like, oh, fuck. How do we tell them again, right? So I don't think that she's that pissed about it. I think that she's fine. It's, again, she's still just gonna go after the other one, still till try and...
Yeah.
Right, like...
Okay.
But, you know, in Prez's defense, like, if she succeeds, he doesn't have to tell anyone
This
that
is
they're dying.
true.
They all die. You have to tell the family that they're dead.
This is true. There is that. Just hold off a little bit. We might not...
I was
this
gonna
might be a problem.
Updating them every day is just, like, being mean. I'd almost wait till the end of the week and be like, so this is everyone who died.
Yeah, right.
So while checking out Alex, Daggett arrives and places Dresden under arrest. Not to mention clocks him with his Glock.
Super police brutality.
It's
Murphy
police
did the same thing.
brutality.
She arrested him and punched him in the face.
Like,
And see, this is it. It's like he clearly clocks him on the back of the head.
And then Harry's eyebrow was bleeding.
Yeah, I
His
know.
temple.
And that was the other thing. I think it's back when he first shows up at Talbot's house to, like, sit and brood or somewhere in there. But he says something about, like, he was feeling his head cold and the bumps and the bruises. I'm like, you broke your damn hand. Like, wasn't it the ghoul or something that, like, crushed your hand or something like that? I was like, that's a little more than, like, some bumps and bruises and a fucking head cold. It's like your hand is fucking busted. Like... I was feeling my bumps and
Even
bruises.
more funny is, like, Harry, again, these are all coming from his, like, memory of the moment, looking back, right? And he's like, I don't know, like, I cut my hand on something, and it's, like, him, like, in the ER being stitched up. He's like, I don't know, not a concussion,
It's just a flesh
think.
wound.
Yeah.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, so he sees Griswold off in the forest as he's being arrested, watching them. Yeah, that's issue 4.
yeah. This concludes our episode 6.3, The Natures of Spirit. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnally's.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.